I'm Mundy, and I'm the new head of science for the year of 2021 to 22. And I'm just going to walk you through what the GCSE science curriculum would look like for this year. So what exactly has changed? Now, over the last few years, there has been a few changes. So there is no controlled assessments anymore. 15% of marks are awarded in examinations for practical skills in particular. And there is a lot more higher demand content. We obviously go with the grades 9 to 1 instead of the A star to G that you sometimes see still knocking around. Now, there are 6 exams that all science students will be required to complete, whether you are combined or Trilogy. There are 2 for biology, 2 for chemistry and 2 for physics, and each exam makes up about 16.7% of a total grade. And it's really, really important that whenever I talk about Trilogy, what I actually mean is the combined science course, and then the triple science would be the separate sciences, biology, chemistry and physics. So the combined science students will receive a double grade, which is a little bit complicated because it comes out as a single grade that's double barreled, but it is the equivalent of 2 GCSEs. Whereas the triple science students will receive 1 grade for each of biology, chemistry and physics. So combined will come out with 2 GCSEs, triple will come out with 3. And another difference is in the length of their papers. Combined students will be sitting papers that are only 1 hour and 15 minutes long, whereas the triple papers will be 1 hour and 45 minutes long. Now, in terms of that grading that I was discussing earlier, the combined science grading is a little bit more complex because the grades are actually a combined double-barreled grade, like I said, and it is split from a tiered system where we go from a grade 1-1 up to a grade 9-9, whereas the triple science system is just from a level 1 to a level 9. So the way it is tiered, and this is really, really important for us teachers when we're making a decision about the tier of entry for a student. It's important that we know this too. So the foundation tier students will only have access to a grade 1-1, from between a grade 1-1 to a grade 5-5, whereas the higher tier students will have access from a 4-3 up to a grade 9-9. Now, it's not just as simple as just saying, oh, every student can do a higher tier paper. It depends entirely on the level that the student is working at. So what I mean by that is if a student is working at around a 2-2 or a 3-2, then the decision would have to be made as to whether we would sit them into the foundation paper. And the reason for that is because those grades actually fall below the threshold of the higher tier paper, and the bottom cap for the higher tier paper is a 4-3. So below that 4-3, on a higher tier paper, a student would receive a U. So there is an element of risk towards the lower end of the higher tier paper. However, the higher tier paper marks are worth a little bit more. And what I mean by that is that students would have to receive less marks to achieve higher grades. And that's because the questioning is a little bit more higher demand. It's more difficult. Whereas the foundation paper, students would have lower demand questioning, and that means that it's a little bit more straightforward. So it would mean that they would have to score a little bit higher to get the really high grades in terms of a 5-5 or a 5-4 within the foundation tier. Okay, now just delving into a little bit more about the question types. We've got 2 types. We've got closed questioning, and we've also got the open questioning. So your closed question types might be multiple choice, link boxes, sentence completion, labeling diagrams, whereas the open questioning might be a bit more about labeling, short answer questions, calculations, and also the extended 6-mark questions that we might see a little bit more often too. Now, in terms of how the papers are split up in terms of their questioning, what you might notice from the image that I've shown you here is that the foundation tier has a lot more towards the start of the paper, has a lot more low demand questioning, whereas towards the middle of the paper, what we start to see is a bit more of a mix between the standard and the low demand questioning. And then towards the end, we level off at the standard demand questioning, where it gets a little bit harder. Whereas if we flip to the higher tier paper, the higher tier starts as the foundation paper left off. So the standard questioning is the foundation, is the core starting point for the higher tier paper. Towards the middle of the paper, which we call the consolidating area of the paper, the standard questioning starts to raise up into the higher demand questioning. And then towards the very end, there is a huge increase in the demand and the difficulty into the high demand questioning before we finish the paper. Now, in terms of what the exam timetable might look like for next year, for biology paper 1, where students will sit B1 to B4, those units, the provisional date as of now is going to be the 17th of May, and it'll be in the afternoon. Whereas the chemistry will be on the 27th of May in the morning. Physics paper 1 will be on the 8th of June in the afternoon. Biology paper 2, which will be B5 to B7, is going to be the 15th of June in the morning. Chemistry paper 2 will be the 20th of June in the morning, and physics paper 2 will be on the 23rd of June in the morning too. Now, of course, it's probably going to change before now and then. And if anything happens, and for some reason there is going to be a change to the way that the examinations are going to be working in uncertain times, then obviously we will adapt accordingly as well. Now, in terms of those required practical skills that students will be marked on as well in their assessments, 16 practicals are required for combined students to complete in their lessons, 24 for triple, and each of them are designed to help students develop their ways in terms of working scientifically, apparatus and techniques, and they're also their numeracy skills as well. Now, students aren't going to be assessed in class on the way they actually carry out their practicals, but they are going to be assessed in their exam on answers to questions that they would only know if they completed those practicals. So they've become a really, really big part of our curriculum, and they're really, 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 really important for students to be able to get to grips with. Now, in terms of what we do in school to ensure that our students are prepared for those exams and those required practicals, we ensure stretch and challenge in every single lesson. It's in the ethos and it's in everything that we do. We have a key focus on key skills in terms of practical skills, and also in terms of how students think scientifically, and also scientific numeracy. We offer out intervention booster sessions. We used to offer out revision sessions. We offer online revision and drop-in sessions as well. We are in the process of building and providing revision resource packs. We also guide students to appropriate revision each week. So students will receive a revision timeline that they should stick to try and help them embed that in their own practice. We set at least one piece of home learning a week, which is designed to facilitate their learning. And we're having a big drive and a big change for this in science to improve its quality this year, to try and put the onus on a little bit more on independence for the students and build them up, build the confidence and the resilience up before they get to their all important exams. We also offer out some really, really, really interesting extracurricular opportunities that also link into our examinations. So we have British Science Week exhibition, which provides us with a huge amount of careers exposures. We have a lot of people coming in from the local area, from science backgrounds and from other careers that come in, and they offer workshops and they speak to the kids about what career they could go into if they took science any further. Now, in terms of the home learning, we do use two particular systems, and we use one for Key Stage 3 and one Key Stage 4. Now, it isn't the only thing we would set for home learning, but we do have this set in motion already as a policy that for Key Stage 3 we will use Educate. All students will obviously have their login for that, and students are then set online tests that they complete at home, and then their teachers will use that, and it will facilitate their planning and then it will be used within their lesson time to make sure that we're filling any gaps that we've realised that they've got from their home learning. And the same for GCSE Pod. Now, the beauty with GCSE Pod is that each of the homeworks or home learning that's set with GCSE Pod comes with a pod or a video which explains the unit to the student and facilitates the questions that they've been set. And again, teachers will then use that as a tool for assessment to try and see what gaps students have and fill those within their lesson time. Now, in terms of revision, we do have a revision cycle that we use in science, and that revision cycle is based around the 5 R's. We've got refresh, reduce, remember, review, and reflect. Now, the way that we get kids to use this is that we start them off by saying, okay, let's have a look at what we could be doing to start us off, and that could be refreshing some knowledge that we've not seen for a while. So having a read of your exercise book, asking your teacher, reading some of the specification, maybe reading your revision guide just to start you off. And then not just reading it, but doing something with it and reducing it into something like flashcards, something bite-sized and manageable, like a mind map. Maybe even creating an acronym to remember key information, creating a keyword glossary, and maybe summarizing key information if possible. And then once it's reduced, it's much easier to remember. So we get people or students to then look, cover, write, check, memorize, create mnemonics, create a story, and then ask them to apply it and review whether they've remembered it in the correct way and in the correct context. So we get them to do past paper questions or GCSE Pod or online quizzes just to check their understanding. And then they come back and reflect on truly whether they actually know that or whether they don't know that. And if they've got some gaps, then our job is to then teach them to have the resilience and be able to reflect enough to know what to do about that. And whether that be come and see your teacher, or whether that be, okay, I know what my areas for development are, what am I going to do about it? What can I use? What resources can I use? What can I do going forward? And I'm really, really keen to let you know what you can do to help, because parental engagement is actually extremely important. So one of the main things is actually just ensuring that home learning is completed, whether it's on Educate, GCSE Pod, or in Google Classroom. It's really, really important that we have that support from home. You could encourage your child to revise independently as well. Now, not just in the lead up to their exams, but bite-sized small chunks throughout the year leading up to that. Also, in ensuring that your child is aware of the importance of starting their revision early and getting them to use their revision guide or their flashcards to test them. Have regular conversations with them regarding their progress and be interested in what they are doing, because that's really, really important to our young people, that they are making you proud. And ensuring your child catches up on any missed work. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening. If you need any more information, please feel free to give school a call and ask for me. My email address is a.amundy, AMUNDY @stretfordhigh.com. Thank you. Bye.